Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Edge Sports Network. We are continuing the summer series today with Danzel McKinley-Lewis, Toledo wide receiver. Danzel, thanks so much for joining us on the site today.
No problem.
Great to have you on. I want to start here, at the beginning of your career. I mean, for starters, have you always kind of wanted to be a wide receiver? I mean, growing up, was that the position that you always kind of wanted to be in the future? What drew you to the position, and what kind of just drew you to football in general?
Uh, Honestly, I was not into football at all.
Oh, wow.
There was a time where I was in Pee Wee,
Mm-hmm.
where I played for about a week, and that was it. I was
Wow.
a very, very good baseball player, all state. That was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But one day, my high school coach seen me out there playing a turkey bowl game, and he kind of convinced me to play.
Mm-hmm.
So my first time ever really playing football was my junior year of high school. And because of my good baseball skills from being an outfielder,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of drew to me with hand-eye coordination to be a receiver. And I just became good at that position. And there we go.
Yeah, I didn't know you were a baseball player back in the day. Certainly being an outfielder, definitely kind of the best position to translate over to football, especially as a wide receiver. And I know you grew up in Pittsburgh, had a really nice high school career. You capped it off with a great senior season, 55 catches for 743 yards, 12 touchdowns. I want to know, what's Pittsburgh football like? I know I've never really been to Pittsburgh. Don't really know much about the football culture there. So what was that like? What was the style of play, and how'd that kind of get you ready for college?
Oh, it's definitely a grind city.
Mm-hmm.
Football is the culture of the city.
Mm-hmm.
From me starting football, you understand it's of community there.
Mm-hmm.
If you are very in tune with trying to become something in football, you'll go to a guy named D. Brown. He pretty much trains everybody
Mm-hmm.
from Aaron Donald to Pee Wee kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's a culture. Everybody's there for football. You don't really hear much about people coming from Pittsburgh that's big on basketball,
Mm-hmm.
even baseball. As
Yeah.
that it's a grind state. We got the Steelers. We're very known
Yep.
for it.
Certainly just a hard-working. I mean, when you think of Pittsburgh, the Steel City, you think of hard-working, everything they do, especially in sports. Obviously, you mentioned the Steelers. And I mean, coming out of a city like Pittsburgh, hardworking, dedicated. What kind of had you set on Toledo for your school choice? Was it something that you'd always kind of dreamed about growing up, or did it come to you a little bit later in your high school career? How'd you kind of get set on Toledo to continue your collegiate career?
Toledo, they were my first offer.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Campbell and Coach Candle at the time, they were really close friends with my high school coach, Coach Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And they seen me develop. They came to a lot of my games. And what I try to tell high school kids is when somebody's recruiting you,
Mm-hmm.
they have to recruit you as if you were family.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be another number that's just going to come in their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Coach Kendall and Coach Campbell, like, they would call me, hey, what's up? How you doing? Every day they would ask personal stuff. And they even got to the point where they met my mother. Of course, we all have that point, but they met her
Mm-hmm.
before we even had that official sit down in the living room.
Wow.
They just they treated me as if I was a part of the family already. And
Mm-hmm.
also at the time, Pittsburgh had a huge pipeline to Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the time there were 8, 9 guys before I was even there. So having that many guys up there already from this exact city that I was from, not just the state, the city where I was from,
Mm-hmm.
it felt as if it was home. Because when I went up there, they watched over me and they took care of me.
Now you bring that up. I mean, when you have this family-like atmosphere right out of the gate, before you even get on the field, before you even get to the school, I mean, how does that make it going into college? Because I know that transition from high school to college, it can be tough. Like, it can be really tough to make, especially, student athlete aside. If you're just going from high school to college as a student, it's tough. It's a change. To be going into athletics there, I can only imagine it's a little bit tougher, but when you have that family bond, how easy does it make it to kind of get on the field? I mean, do you just feel like you're playing with family?
Yeah, one of my main focal points, especially being an athlete, which Kendall he knew by getting to know my mother, is education is such a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where my first semester, I was slacking around. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. I never had under a 3.0 GPA, but I was slacking my first semester here.
Uh-huh.
With him knowing my mother and knowing where she is, he threatened me, hey, you better get your act together. I'm going to call your mother. And that's the main thing about it being family. But the transition, of course, I redshirted my freshman year.
Yep.
But with there being so many Pittsburgh guys there, they understood that, and I was built off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody took it easy on me because I was a redshirt. I was one of the best guys on scout team. I was running everywhere. I was trying to do everything. I may have got thrown around a bit by some of the older guys, like Big Hess. I was getting bullied, but that built me to be the player that I am today. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst, but I'll definitely give you all that I got.
That's all you can really do right there. And I know the redshirt season, I mean, I've talked to a lot of guys who have redshirted. You have a really good outlook on it. Just kind of grinding through that season, doing everything you can. I know some guys I've talked to, it's a tough year because you're not getting live action. It's a year where you kind of gotta take a seat, take the sideline. But for you, I know it seems like you had a really good mentality. Was that hard, that redshirt season, to kind of stay focused, just kind of look at the bigger picture here, look down the line to the future? Because I know it is probably really tough to be sidelined, especially your first year. You're anxious, you're ready to go. How was your experience in the redshirt season there?
I would say, honestly, the worst part about being redshirted was just sitting on the sidelines during the cold. Because I do not like the cold at all.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Other than that, I really didn't have a problem because I knew the situation that I was in. I was very raw. Like I said, I didn't start playing until I was a junior. So a lot of the stuff that a lot of guys already knew, I didn't. And I had to develop it, even on the strength standpoint. Baseball players really don't work out to the extent that football players work out at.
For sure.
And some of these guys were doing that junior high school. So I didn't like it, of course, because I was a starter in high school. I was very good, all conference, all state. But I had to understand, hey, you're new, you're raw. You got to learn and develop. And it also got to me to the point where I'm working on my master's degree. I'm 2 semesters away from finishing my MBA.
That's great right there that you have that. I think you put education really high on your list, which is great because I feel like sometimes as a student athlete, you might lose touch of that. But it's good to know that you have your eye on education just as much, if not more, than football, because no matter what, the football career is going to end someday, whether you're 30, 40, 50. Let's hope you're not playing until you're 50 because that might be pretty tough on the body, but it's going to end someday. That education is important. So it's nice to see that you do realize that you have the plan in place. I know you face adversity as well. I mean, you were injured a couple years ago back in 2018, missed the majority of the season. When you're coming off a season where you redshirted or you got injured, this past season, I mean, you had your best year to date, 36 catches, 615 yards and a touchdown. So when you're coming off years where you're injured, you redshirt, what's the mentality when you have to get back into football and kind of see how you do? I mean, you've had a year off, whether that be through injury or redshirt. How do you come back and say, you know what, let's make this a good year, let's stay focused? What's the mentality there?
Just don't get complacent. You got to understand what your end goal is. You have to talk with your coaches, and you got to talk about what the plan you are going to have in set. Of course, I had that year off. I was originally a slot receiver, and trying to adjust to becoming an outside receiver, it's difficult, especially on this type of level where you're facing DBs that were usually 2-3 yards ahead of you, to now they're directly in your face where you can smell what they had for breakfast. So that's just the main thing. Just don't get complacent, and don't feel like just because I was starting last year before I got hurt, somebody can't come and take my position. It's D1.
Exactly.
There's guys that get replaced every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody can come in. So
I think that's a great mindset to have right there. I mean, you look at college football, and as you said, it's like it's a revolving door, really. And I mean, what coaches are concerned about is putting the best team out there on Saturdays. And the fact that you're kind of just keeping on top of things, keeping that right mindset, you never want to get comfortable. I mean, that's how it is. You never want to get comfortable in any sport. So I think that mindset is going to serve you well. I want to ask you this too. Any receivers in today's game or that you kind of watched growing up that have had an impact on you? Not necessarily maybe that you've replicated your game after, but guys that you've just been like, you know what, someday I want to be like him. I like what he's doing on the field. Any role models you've had in the game of football, growing up today, just really any time?
For me, really focusing, like I said, I focus on my education as well.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who I really look up to is Andrew Hawkins.
Yep.
Former receiver here at Toledo. He finished his master's I forget what Ivy League school, and he got over a 3.0 GPA. He was on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody who I really look up to, because not only was he on top of his game on the field,
Mm-hmm.
but he was on top of it off the field. And he's really, really did his thing after that. With working with ESPN, has
Mm-hmm.
been blog. He's everywhere now.
For sure. I mean,
That's
it's
something that
yeah. I mean,
I
it's one thing. I'm just like, I really like the mentality here, because it's one thing to succeed on the field, but it's another thing to be able to succeed on the field and off the field, especially education-wise, as you mentioned here. And it seems like you've been doing really well at handling both.
definitely been trying.
I mean, yeah, that's really tough to do. And I know, I want to ask you this too, like, how do you kind of just stay motivated, I guess, throughout the season, throughout the school year? I go to Marquette University right now. I know this year especially, the school year just completely thrown out of whack with coronavirus.
Man.
And there's days where, I'm sure you have these days too, you don't want to get out of bed, the alarm hits, you're like, oh my God, I'm tired, I need to lay down. You'll get home at night, I'm tired, I don't want to do homework, I don't want to study. How do you kind of stay motivated throughout the year to just stay on top of that, keep doing that? I know you mentioned you're always kind of looking at the long-term goal, which I think could definitely help, but throughout the course of the year, how do you just stay focused?
Are you talking academically or football-wise?
Yeah, so academically, with the football on top of it, I mean, personally for me, I'm not balancing football. I'm not balancing D1 football. You are. How do you stay balanced when you have D1 football? How do you keep up with the academics?
So my main thing is, with football having such an impact on my life,
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay focused on my academics as much, because jobs, when you get out of here,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna say, oh yeah, you were a D1 athlete, you're disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
you got all the characteristics that were blended into you over your course of your athletic career.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these other students have complete freedom to
Mm-hmm.
do whatever they can do. So that means they can network like crazy. Even though
Yep.
football does provide a great span of people to network with,
Mm-hmm.
but they can do internships as well. And they can do them throughout the whole entire year.
Yeah.
So that means they're already past the entry level that they need to be with their company.
Mm-hmm.
So with me trying to be on top of my grades, that shows that I can balance a lot of stuff. Even though
Yeah.
you got a lot of guys that may have like a 2.2, a 2.3, but they don't understand when you get out of here, those kids may have the same GPA as you, but they already have 2-3 years work experience on top of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the way that you
That's
balance that,
yeah.
yeah, the way that you balance that's really impressive, I gotta say. I gotta give it to you there. I know I couldn't do it with D1 football.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, but I mean, you got people that you got to surround yourself with that can keep you on top of the game.
For sure. I mean, you've been staying on top of it. And again, like, I've talked to a lot of guys, and a lot of guys have said it's tough. It is really tough. And I feel like a lot of guys, too, will look at football as, all right, this is my main thing in life. This is all I have my head set on. The academics may slack. But the fact that you're keeping up with both is just, I mean, that's going to serve you well once you get out of Toledo here. Whether you go play football professionally or you go find, a job wherever that may be, if they see that you balance it well, I mean, you're set, man. You're set. I'll tell you that. And to close up here, the first question I have for you, a little bit of a fun one. And then the second one, a little bit more serious. You might have thought about it in the past. Might not. You might have to think about it. But the first one here, if you could have any NFL player as a teammate, past or present, who would be that teammate and why?
Ooh. Any NFL player, past or present.
It's a tough question.
Matter of fact, it is a really tough question. I've watched a lot of his videos he posts on YouTube, and Mohamed Sanu.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, because mentality-wise, he's always trying to teach somebody something.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is, he's trying to teach somebody something. And he just seems like a really, really cool, down-to-earth guy. And he's always grinding, always working.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like that about him. A lot of receivers, they see a new guy come in, and it's like, I got to make sure I secure my position.
Mm-hmm.
Him, he really seems like he's a genuine good guy. He tries to look out for everybody.
Yeah.
Mohamed Sanu.
I like that one. I'm not going to lie. I hate to admit it. I'm a big Patriots fan. So we had him this year on the team. And I like him a lot. I like his style of play. He's always been a really good, role-playing receiver on a team. And, I mean, he can throw the ball, too. I mean, that's really impressive. He can throw the ball. So, Sanu, great pick. We have not heard that one yet on the site, so you're the first one to go with Mohamed Sanu. But I want to look 5 years down the road here. For you personally, what would be the perfect situation in the year 2025? What is Danzel McKinley-Lewis doing with his life?
I mean, every Division I football player wants to say playing NFL football.
Mm-hmm.
But if not doing that, hopefully I'll be working or have my own company. I'll try to work in some type of management position or HR position, a Fortune 500 company, hopefully in Dallas or Houston, Texas. Girlfriend, hopefully she's either fiance or wife by then.
There you go.
And, traveling. I mean, that's the perfect situation for me. Most likely, hopefully, working at home, though.
I hear you.
If I could find a position where I work at home, that'll be beautiful. But yeah.
See, that goes back.
Own company.
That goes back to our point right there. When you wake up in the morning, you don't want to roll a bed, you can just stay in bed, grab the laptop, work from home.
Yep. That's exactly what I want. Or go on a trip, go out of the country and still be able to work while I'm on a trip.
That's perfect too. Travel the world a little bit. I mean, hey, you got a great outlook right there, and I really do love your motivation, your mindset that you have, both on and off the field. I think that's really important. Definitely very well-rounded. And I can tell you thought about that question a little bit before. Fortune 500 company, working from home. Sounds like a pretty good setup right there, Danzel. But I got to say, man, thanks so much for joining us here on the site today. Absolutely great to have you on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you as well.
No problem at all. I mean, we're going to put your Twitter down below so you guys can follow Danzel, follow his last season here at Toledo, and you can also check up on him when he's got his Fortune 500 company running. See where he's traveling to, see where he's been. Make sure you go give him the follow down below. We'll also put a link to Toledo's football page so you guys can check out news and updates for the team this season, see how they're doing, keep updated on that. But guys, thanks so much for joining us here for the summer series on Edge Sports Network. As always, we'll see you guys next time.